All right. Okay, so we're going to look at conditional formatting, and we're going to look at the data window and, or data pane, I should say. And right-click Profit, which will bring up that
screen, or are you letting us?
Oh, I don't share my screen? I thought I was sharing my screen.
I guess I'm just seeing the four of us, but maybe I'm.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Same.
All right. So Profit, right-click in the data pane. And this is kind of the shortcut ways if my right-click was working.
Now,
you go to Create.
Do you want us to be on a new window doing this, or new sheet? I mean.
No, you don't need to.
Okay.
Mine, I don't have. I didn't actually build out the view of the sum of profit dots. I wanted to make that. Didn't want to steal everyone's thunder. You know, I wanted everyone to have their own creation there that they could feel proud about. So go to Profit, Create, and then go to Calculated Field.
Mm-hmm.
And from here, we're going to say Profit Code. Actually, we'll call it Profit Color Code. And zoom in, at least on this part. So anything orange here is part of the data, and that's like a data value. Anything purple is a parameter. So that's just a helpful thing if you ever run across that. So we're going to say if profit is less than 0, then -1, else.
Does this have to be all caps?
No, you can choose whatever. It's not cap sensitive. If I was writing this out in JavaScript, I actually would have lowercase, but my habit is to cap them, so that's what I do. Okay, everybody have this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then we're gonna hit OK. And then we're gonna actually go back in here.
Apply, or did you push OK? Or
it doesn't. You can hit up OK is the faster way of doing it. So we're actually gonna wrap this profit around with sum. I should say we're gonna wrap sum around profit. And the reason you do that is if you don't wrap this with an aggregation, then it's going to check that for each specific dot, which is not what we want. We want it to be aggregated at the sum level, which is going to be based on sum of profit for state. So can anybody explain what you think this code or this calculated field is going to do?
Add up all the profit? No.
Add up all the profit, but what's the logic telling you?
If it's a negative profit, then
you're creating a binary condition.
Yep. How many buckets am I creating?
2.
2 buckets. Okay, so we're going to click OK. And then since I used numbers, it's going to think it's a measure, but it's not a measure. It's actually a dimension. So we're going to just drag profit color code and then put that. Well, I should say it's not a measure. We actually want to make it discrete. Since we're aggregating it, I can't put it as a dimension, but we don't want it continuous. And the reason we don't want it continuous is because we want it to scale on 2 values instead of having it as a gradient. and I can show you what that looks like.
So you changed it to discrete, did you say?
Yep. So right click on profit color code,
Right.
and
Just hit
then
convert to discrete.
correct. Yep. Because it's currently continuous. So this is one of the kind of the complicated things with Tableau sometimes. So you can have blue pills in the measures, and you can do that based on, and you have discrete values that are aggregated.
That just go right over everybody's head? No.
It's not really important outside of just know that you can have, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, don't freak out.
It created a to-do note to go back and review.
Okay.
So then you take this profit color code when you have that done and put it on color. And you should have different colored dots.
And that my max profit was the only thing highlighted. So do I have to do that for each one of the ones I see?
Right.
Okay. And we should do that for each one of them?
You can, yeah. This is just kind of like some things you can use to add in some more information. You can also right click on the color legend, and then you can edit the colors. And so I think probably it makes sense to use your HSB slider. So I'm going to have like a dark color for that is positive. And then I'm going to have a reddish color for.
Where'd you get that HSB to go down there in the bottom corner there? I've got it displayed in the middle, but how did you get it in the lower left-hand corner?
Oh, you can just move it around.
I know, but where did you get that little frame from? That's what I can't.
Oh, so you just double click on the each of the colors.
Okay, got it.
Huh.
And your color choices might look a little different than mine since they are a little different for Mac versus Windows. That's a little too bright still. Or I should say,
yeah, because I don't have that HSB sliders.
Yeah, you might have just the arrow keys, or like or not arrow keys, but like like an arrow UI. Yeah, that's one I have to use for work. So. So after you sort it, have the color code, you already have a fairly effective visual. So can anybody like think about what this pattern here kind of looks like?
An S?
Does it remind you kind of math class when you're plotting different functions?
Like a hyperbolic curve, but on a slightly different axis.
Yep. And you got so there's your outliers, you got white tails. So you could actually, like, if you wanted to, you could have like calculated field to kind of highlight the extremes of your data set as well. So this is just another way to visually explore what your data is doing. That goes beyond, a bar chart, because you wouldn't be able to see it this easily with a bar chart, this pattern. Did everyone get their color codes to work?
Mm-hmm.
Was that easy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you can use the term conditional formatting and can show what that means to other people at the workplace, and they will be amazed.
Well, kind of. We'll work on that one.
Code, right?
Well, write it down, and then when you wake up, just remember what it means, and then it will become a habit, and then you'll be able to use it in your everyday life in all situations. You could be having lunch and with a bunch of friends, and then you could say, "Hey, have you ever heard about conditional formatting?" It's a great conversation starter, I can tell you.
That's how my lunch conversations go often.
Yeah, most data ones do.
If you get this, then I'll get that, or else I'll get this.
I love it. Application.
All right, is everybody ready for the first break?
Yep.
Sure.
All right, everyone back at 7:07 because you get 1 extra minute because I'm nice.
It's awesome. Thanks.
Hey, I do have
Yep.
a question if that's cool.
Sure.
So I decided to make that color code change on the sum of profits dots, and it only changed one of the tiles. So I was wondering, how do I apply it to an additional one? Should I show my screen?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So it applied it to this one. Oops, let me get over here. Applied
So
it
if you
to
go
this
to
one.
Yeah, so if you go
Okay.
to the menu on the left-hand side, you see that there are all those different stacks of max profit under the marks menu. So
Okay.
go to all
Okay.
and then drag your color.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. So if I only want to do it to the sum, then do it that way. Okay.
Right.
Cool. All right. Sweet.
And so you can actually like use that as a way to carry over the that one like rule for all your other views, even though they're not looking at sum of profit.
All right. Create some uniformity there. Very cool. All right. Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
And then it's at 7:07.
07.
7:07.
Still got 10 minutes. Yep.
All
Really
right.
burned a minute.
Cool. Thanks. See ya.
Yep. See it. And my mic was off. Excellent. Then there were 3. Now we're looking for one more.
I'm here. I was just off. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Just making sure we have everybody.
Mhm.
All right. So now we're going to build on these concepts that we just learned. And we are going to create what is known as a quad chart. Anybody know what a quad chart is?
Share your screen.
Yep, I got it.
4 quadrants. Guessing.
Yep, there are 4 quadrants.
Are we getting a new workbook or sheet? Worksheet?
Yes, we are. So we're going to call this quad chart. Okay, so to create our quadrants, we are going to use 2 variables, sales, sum of sales, and sum of profit. And we're going to put them on the columns and row shelf.
And I'm just asking, but you have to rename the inside the worksheet as well as the tab, or is there a way to do both simultaneously? Or
Well, if you rename the worksheet, it'll automatically update your title.
got it. That's what I wanted to know because I've been doing both separate. So, but I must be doing.
You can do both separate.
First. I know, but I must be.
So, like, if your title is like long and you don't want it as part of your worksheet tab name, then you can edit it, your title, and just because right here this is telling you it's dynamic based on the sheet name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so if everyone has or if everyone is at where I'm at, they should have something that looks like this.
Yep.
Okay. And so what kind of analysis is a, well, like, let's put state in the details. Let's see how that looks. That doesn't look great. Let's see if we can get a better spread.
This is what you just have to have time or experience with, right? I mean, how you know.
Well, I mean, in this case, if I was conducting analysis, then I might just look at the scatter plot. So it's probably not looking the best. So I might look for a different way of doing that. That's not what I need.
And you haven't landed on one. You're just experimenting right now, right?
Yep. This is just me looking.
Okay.
So categories, subcategory. This is good. Let's see if, no, we don't want that. We want subcategory. That's too
What about ship mode?
No, I think we're going to go subcategory here.
Okay.
I think this is a good level of aggregation for us. See how there's a nice spread here?
So why didn't I see where you got category for under products?
Yep. So this is a hierarchy, and so you can actually drill down if you wanted to. So one of the things that we're going to do is get rid of these grid lines and the 0 line. So just right click on the worksheet, go to format, which will open up your format menu. And if you go to the lines, that's where you find grid lines. And you want to be on sheet. You got 3 options here: rows, columns, and sheet. You want to go sheet. For grid lines, you go none. And for 0 line, you want to go none. And I'll explain why you don't have 0 line for this right now. When we get.
And then you just close the formatting window then, right?
Yep. After that, we are done with it for now. And then for the marks menu, instead of having shapes, we're just going to change that to circles because scatter plots look better with filled circles. I don't know if there's research that proves that, but there should be.
Did you just
You
hit
also-
size there to change it?
Yeah, just a little bit of preference. It's not mandatory or anything like that. Yep, so we should have something that looks like this. Okay, so we already created our profit color code. So we're going to drag that just to see what it looks like. And so then you can see that there should be 3, if your data is the same as mine, subcategories that have negative profit.
Where did you drag that profit color code to? Just in the-
Color,
Oh,
just like last time. Yep. So that's just going to create those 2 categories with color.
Now my colors are exactly opposite of yours. Doesn't matter, or should I make them?
Well, I just from a UX perspective, people are going to associate red with negative. So that's just the way I was thinking. But you could always color them in
And then
whatever
the
you think is
second
best.
one, you just did blue then, right? So basically red and blue. Is that blue?
It's basically a black, but there's a lot of blue in it. So
Got it. Okay.
you're not wrong making it blue.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going to now do the same type of calculation for sales. So sales, color code.
And create calculated field, right?
Yes. Right click on sales, and then go to create and calculate a field.
Sales code.
Go if. Someone tell me what I should be typing in here.
If sum of sales.
In aggregation, so some.
Yep. What am I testing against?
Sales is greater than 0.
Then
Well, it hasn't tested anything yet. So
Sum of sales is less
oh, sorry.
than 0,
Yeah.
then -1, else 1, end.
Yeah.
what's the issue with using negative or less than 0 for sum of sales?
0 profit is on the negative side. I don't know. Greater than.
How many dots do you think are going to meet the condition of being negative
3.
Potentially
for
none.
sales?
Yeah, potentially none. I mean, you'd have to have a sales office
Oh.
that's not active to not have some sales.
Oh,
So-
I'm looking at the wrong axis. None. So if
Do we want-
sales.
Do we want like less than 80,000 or less than?
Gotcha.
What's the
140?
problem with hard coding?
You get magic
using
number
80,000.
problem. You get magic number problem. So do we want to do average?
Okay, let's try average. Let's see what happens.
Or would that be mean or
Average.
average?
AVG.
Okay.
Yep. Now what do we do?
Then
Okay.
Do we want to stick with the same numbers, or
For this, we're actually going to use text
okay?
just to show you can do it a different way.
Okay.
So if it's sales is below average, what would the first? Then it would be what?
Boo.
Below average sales. Else,
Above average. And then we would end. Yep.
yep, you always got to finish every if then else with end in Tableau. So that's our sales color code. And then if we drag it on color, which will replace the profit one, you'll see that none of the dots have changed. Why is that? Why didn't that work?
Because they're all above.
They're all above average.
Is it calculation 1? Is that what it turned into?
What do you mean calculation one?
Oh, I was just trying to find where it went.
Oh, yeah. If you didn't put in a name for it, then it'll be calculation one by default. I just named mine sales color code. So, theories. Why didn't this work? Sum of sales less than average. And none of them passed. They're all above average sales.
Well, last time we changed it to a discrete value, but I'm not seeing that option. Am I missing that?
Oh,
Change data type, wasn't it? You know?
you just go to the oh, that's not the right one.
it is already discrete because it's blue.
Right.
Ah, good point.
Yeah, Ronnie and Mara have it right. Because the output is not because the last time it was only a measure because Tableau thought it was because we used a number. But a string can only be a string or a dimension. Okay, so looking for theories. Why is
There's an outlier somewhere that is a
no?
total loss that makes the average so low. I don't know.
Okay, so we're gonna take sum of sales and then we're gonna duplicate it and go to the right here, and then we're gonna look at average. Now compare the axes, the y-axis on both the sum of sales and sum of profit.
Sorry, I was looking away when you did the duplicate. So where did you do the duplicate?
So that's that
Gotcha.
that quick one where you either do control or command and then left click drag to the side.
Okay.
And so your question again was, what about the y-axis?
Yep. Which one looks larger?
The sales.
Which sales? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Sum of
sales.
sales.
The top one.
Right.
So does it make sense why none of them pass that?
Yep. Kind of.
So what is the average sales saying? It's saying what the average sales was for each of the
Subcategories.
right.
So they just had really low average sales.
Right. But the thing is we don't want to compare it against just average. We actually need 2 aggregations. So if we need 2 aggregations, which is an aggregation of an aggregation, does anybody remember what that would entail?
Aggregation.
We're entering an inception now.
Multiple.
I actually just watched Inception yesterday, so it's a very timely reference for me. Okay, so what we actually want is we want to have sum of sales instead of average sales. So we're going to have sum of sales compared against sum of sales. And so you're probably wondering, that doesn't make any sense. And I know, but it will here in a second. Once I find where my calculator field is. Okay, so we don't want average sales. We want sum of sales.
So you right click there to edit it, right? Correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
There's your edit.
So we don't want average, we want sum of sales.
Yep. And now everyone's probably going, this makes no sense at all. But since we're using an aggregation of an aggregation, what we need is a table calculation. So I'm going to type in window average. I'm going to wrap my aggregation. And that's something that looks like this.
See, and I want to know what kind of background that you know this kind of programming or
Sorry, what was the question?
Well, just to know this kind of coding, I guess, or is this like a statistics kind of background, or what?
Me?
Gave you this, because this isn't just Tableau. Learning, this is another set of knowledge, is it not, or am I?
Well, I would say that if you want to use Tableau, like this is based on, I learned this through Tableau.
Okay.
Just based on the type of analysis I wanted to create.
So, David, would you say that the window underscore average is a function to Tableau like some other function is to Excel? So sometimes you just have to learn those functions.
Right.
I think it's. I think it's somewhat similar. I usually like to caution against compare it to Excel just because it's based on relational data. So it's pretty similar to what you would find in any programming language. So it could be Python. They all have math libraries that you can create calculations and stuff like that. Now, a lot of times you have to create those yourselves. Like you would create like a function called window average. And so they basically have all these pre-built ones. So you can think of it as a library.
So similar to, figuring out your own query or how you're going to get to that.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so if I there's this little arrow here that you can open, and this has all your different types of calculated fields that are available in Tableau. And so there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But the pull down menu, if you go to table calculation, these are, if you ever want to look at table calculations themselves, then you can see that these are the ones that fall in that. And so you know that for these to work, you have to have an aggregation before you can use them. So like conceptually, if you're thinking about our view here, what we really needed was for each subcategory to have all that sales to be summed up before we could then take the average to compare against the other subcategories. Or else we'd be comparing at a granularity we don't want, because we first have to aggregate that.
See, and I would, on the education side, be able to get some of these form or what, but the sales and the business side is what kind of messes me up, I think, because I'm like, I don't think like that. The business part, I think more of the
Well, you can think of it as
attendance.
like,
Yeah.
so if you think about like students, if you needed to take like the sum of attendance
Mm-hmm.
of like missed days, to get the average missed days, you have to first sum it up for each student and
Right.
then take the average
Yep.
of the students. Because if you just took it the average overall, then it would just give you a blanket overall average without they're slightly different than the actual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna hit OK on that. And then we're gonna drag that on color. And so you can see it's still not working. So I'm not gonna make everyone miserable and ask you why is it not working, because you're probably not gonna know.
Now, when I
This stuff.
drag it on there, how come I have the under the marks? I have 3 things: all, some sales, average sales.
Look at the pills. So
Oh,
your
okay.
marks menus are going to correspond with it. So I just
Okay.
basically took one of them off
Okay.
because that was just as an example. So if you right click, so we know that it's a table calculation because of the little delta here. So if we right click, we'll have this handy dandy option on the submenu called compute using. And so this is basically how Tableau is running the window average. And so right now it's default by window across, but we don't want that. We want to compare all the subcategories. And so when you change it to that,
There we go.
Does that change then the sales color code? If we open that up?
yeah. So if you go, no, it doesn't change the color code, no.
No.
And you also want to, just to make it easier, there's other ways to do this, but just take that category, make sure that's not in the view, or else it'll mess up your calculation. So just in general, anything that you put in Tableau could potentially like mess up on how it's aggregating things.
So you said remove the category. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So here, if I press back button, I have it here. You can see that the colors are different. So if I just drag that off, then everything works.
So now it is the average. It's only looking at the average of what is on screen.
Right. You're looking at the average of what is the aggregated for each of the subcategories. Before, it was looking at it at a more detailed level, which is why the average was too low for you to be able to compare it against what was aggregated at the sum level. So that's why I take that. Okay. So we're going to go to profit color code, and we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to make changes to this one. So we're going to call this one profit color code table, just so that we know it's different. Okay. So what do I add here to make it like the other one? What do I write here?
Do we want window?
Less than.
Sorry, what was it?
Less than sign.
Yes.
Windows
then-
average.
Now what?
Sum of profit.
Right.
2 parentheses.
Now what?
Then do we want to stick with our 2 buckets, -1, else 1? Oh, we're going to do lib.
Yep, we're gonna go. You'll see why.
Okay.
And there's no particular reason why you didn't capitalize profit. But it does, again, it doesn't matter, right?
Right. It's not case sensitive unless you're actually comparing strings. Oh, what else did I do after this?
Else above av profit end.
Thank you. I forgot, and you're a lifesaver. Okay. So we got profit color code TAC table. Now I'm going to drag that to color. And
Mine has an exclamation point next to it.
that means there's an error.
Okay.
I know I have an error too. That's why I'm trying to find my error quick. I didn't.
Oh.
So there should be, when you have an error, it's like if I just, you can click on it and you can see exactly what the issue
I
is.
did a parentheses instead of what do you call the square corner
Bracket.
bracket. Okay, so after you did that, then you did profit color code, or you're like, I want to see mine compared to yours.
Did you put brackets around profit? Profit should turn orange.
I was just gonna say, how come mine doesn't look nice colored?
The brackets.
Yeah, the brackets for the data values.
Well, I guess it is color coded. Yours is like bold. Mine is just right.
It's just because I zoomed in, I think.
Okay.
You can't actually format the syntax.
Okay.
Everybody good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so we put it on color, and we don't have our 2 categories. Why?
Because we gotta change it to subcategory.
Change
So
what?
right click it.
Okay.
Go to compute using subcategory.
All right. And there we go.
Right.
So now,
compute using subcategories.
so how many groups do we have from our sales calculation?
2.
And how many groups do we have from our profit calculation?
2.
If I multiply those together, how many do I have?
4.
And when I say quad, what does that make you think of?
4.
4.
Oh, it's getting interesting, isn't it?
I'm not sure I got how it was 2, 2 though. That's where I.
Above and below.
Oh, okay.
In the upper right-hand corner, that box that shows up.
Yep. Got it.
Okay, we're going to create a new calculated field.
You took off profit color?
Profit read?
Yes. Yeah,
Table?
profit color code table. So the ones that we made, right click it, and it'll bring it.
Oh.
It'll bring it into our new calculated field. We're going to call this quad groups.
Right, create.
Okay, you did.
Were we supposed to duplicate that?
I was just going to say.
No, just right click on it and just do create calculated field, and then it will bring it into your calculated field. It's just
okay.
It's a little bit of a shortcut.
Right.
We're calling it quad
groups.
Groups.
Okay, so how do I get 4 groups? Go.
You add them all in, not add them, because you want 4 separate groups, right?
You want to add them.
Add them. Okay, I was right.
So what is the output of, let's say, profit color code table? What's the output? What are we outputting?
It's
The above and the below.
And what kind of data is that?
aggregated data.
No.
Well, some of the values being returned with your then part of the statement is not a number that you could sum. We turned them into labels, and you can't add labels. Is that what you're getting after?
Are you suggesting that we can't add text to each other?
Yes.
You can mutate text.
Well, let's see if I add it and
The
see if
data
it gives
type
me an error.
string and the
It says it's valid.
It's valid. So you can add strings together. So I'm going to add a little bit of just a space here. So I have plus in parentheses, which is I'm just adding in a string, and then space, or I should say quotes, not parentheses. Quotes, space, quotes, plus, and that's what we get. So so before we look at this, how many groups will this create?
You should end up with 4 buckets.
4 buckets. Exactly. It's pretty nifty, huh?
okay, but I messed up on my color code table. I tried to edit the name with a space and I think it blew it away.
Oh, you can just add it back in. So you just drag it. So you get from the data window and you just bring it here and you can just drag it.
Okay.
It is not lost nor forgotten.
Plus, is it quote space quote?
Yep.
Is
Exactly
there a
right.
space after the plus though before the quote? Yes.
Is there a what?
Space after the plus sign before the first quotation,
Yeah, I just have a space plus space.
and then sales of
Bucket.
sales color code. Where's my sales color code at?
If it's in the data window, you can just or data pane, you can just left click it and drag it on.
Oh, I gotta
Like this.
scroll down. I was like, I know what's there. Okay. And hit OK.
And we're hitting OK. So we're going to find our quad groups and we're going to place that on colors. And once again, we only have 1 color group. And the reason is why?
You need to do the computed fields or the
Yep.
subcategory.
Yep, because since we're combining 2 table calculations, quad groups itself is a table calculation too. And we know that because of the little delta. So we go to compute using, go to subcategory, and how many groups do we have?
4.
4. So to make this a true quad chart, add reference
Yes.
line, entire table, sum of sales average. And then for label, we're going to have value instead of computation. And this is optional down here, show recalculated, but I'm going to just click that off, but it's not a big deal. And then we're going to do the same for profit. So it's sum of profit, and then our average. I'm going to go value. I'm going to click off that bottom checkbox.
I actually like this because you can have a little bit of a head scratcher deal of saying above average sales but below average profit. How could that be? And that really helps highlight this.
Yep, exactly. And so there's actually a lot to talk about here. Why I really like quad charts, especially for like whether it's business or education, speaking to people who are not like as data savvy as everyone who is in this class. It really simplifies things into, instead of having a bunch of dots, you got 4 groups. And like you said, Michael, that each of these 4 groups is going to create a different business action or user action. So if you have above average sales and profit, that's what you want. So you might focus more on that. You might research to figure out why it's doing so well. If you have below average sales but above average profit, you probably want to expand that and get the sales up, improving your marketing, or figuring out ways that you can improve your distribution. If you have below average sales and below average profit, these are probably your money losers, especially the ones that are close to losing money. And they may not just make sense, and it may either sell that products to the product lines and brands to a competitor, so you can focus on your money makers, because that's essentially reducing your costs. And then if you focus on your profitable and then maximizing your above profit but below sales, you can really make a huge difference. And so this is really getting into kind of like when we were talking about disaggregated views last time, where you're not just looking at KPIs, you're actually trying to find ways to improve your top line numbers by digging in deeper. And then this last group here, which is below average profit, above average sales, maybe that's just like a legacy product and it makes sense to continue. Maybe there's things that you can do to improve the profit, either cost cutting, or maybe it's a sign you need to do more innovation in that category. Or, you could sell it while it's still making pretty good money. But this right here, in this case, it's actually negative. So tables is actually negative profit despite having 200,000 sales. So your best bet there is probably to discontinue it, or at least figure out why you're not making any money on it.
Right. Are your sales incentives matched to highest profit, or is somebody selling what they can sell and not what they should or could be selling?
Right, exactly. And so this is a really good example. Quad charts are a really good example, too, of how quantitative analysis leads to qualitative research, where you just found these insights by just presenting information like this. We're not familiar with the data, and now we're already asking a lot of good questions. That's going to lead us to asking more questions within our organization, potentially observation, more collection of data, interviews, meetings, those types of things, about having a conversation around these items. It's also important to think about, so if you remember our sum of sales dots, you can see here that each of these we're looking at 5 different variables, but really each charts are looking at one. So the circles are really not that much different than the scatter plot ones. just that the main difference is that where they're being positioned is based on two variables. We're looking at the correlation. So a lot of times scatter plots are used for correlation to kind of show what that pattern is, but it also allows you, a scatter plot allows you, when you, especially when using a quad chart, is to really show how different items are doing based on your top two key metrics. So in this case, it makes sense that your top two key metrics are sales and profit. But instead of looking at necessarily at a correlation, we're actually using it as a way to categorize our items. Because we're not looking to see if they're correlated. We're just looking to create different segments. And so we have an apples to apples comparison for the subcategories in that there's no qualms about comparing copiers to accessories, to binders, to tables, to machines. And at least that question of if we have phones and chairs above, like doing so well in sales and profit, then why do we have product categories that are doing so poorly? Because that relative comparison, you don't need to necessarily have an absolute measure of what is good, because you're just looking at if we improve our worst performing product categories, then that in itself will probably lead to a big improvement where we don't have, it really reduces that complexity. It's a very simple way of looking at it, but it's also very powerful. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. So now we're going to create a new chart. See if we can get this done in 5 to take our quad groups and we're going to put it on the sheet. And then we're also going to take our subcategories. And actually, we're going to put subcategories down on detail. And we're going to put our quad groups on rows. And then we're going to make sure that we have that compute using based on subcategory. And then we are going to, so they already have profit ratio created. We're going to take that.
Compute using at under the subcat, no, under there.
Yeah, quad group and then compute using and then go to subcategory.
Got it. All right, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm glad you asked. So just take profit ratio and put it on colors, and we're just going to see what that looks like. So a profit ratio is sum of profit versus sum of sales.
And you did that in a created a calculated field, or you showed that?
It should come already in your workbook by default. But if it didn't, then this is the calculated field for it, or this is the logic for it.
But how did you get to show in that? Like when you clicked on that profit ratio,
Yeah.
You just double clicked on it?
No, I just left clicked and dragged it to color.
Oh, got it.
So it's a continuous, so we're going to have a continuous color scale.
Right, but I thought, how did you get it? to open in that window on the screen so you could read the calculated field was.
Oh, that's edit.
Okay, that's what.
Right click.
You were
then
just
edit.
showing us what it was. That's why you did it. You
Yeah.
didn't-
Yeah, it's just so you could see. Yep. So I wasn't
Okay.
black boxing it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure that how you got
Oh,
that.
no worries.
I missed a step because I'm only showing one row under quad groups, not four.
Because you
Okay,
have to
so
go
that it's
change it to
compute using.
subcategories. Compute using.
There we go. Thank you. Yep. I had to get that moved over. I forgot to come back. Thank you.
Yep, no worries. Okay, so you can see that there's different colors for profit ratio. What happens if I just want to see the overall profit ratio for the groups themselves?
Hmm.
So our profit ratio is sum. So whenever you're doing any type of ratio, you always want to have an aggregation there, else it won't output correctly. That's actually a Tableau certification question, so remember that. So it sounds like we almost need an aggregation of an aggregation,
I was
which
waiting
we
for
don't
more
have
on
yet.
that.
So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate profit ratio, and then we're going to edit it. Then we're going to call profit ratio table. In this case, we're going to have window sum instead of window average, because we're summing up all of subcategories. Should have something that looks like this. So it's just window sum profit divided by window sum sales. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Okay, don't go too fast. I got tied up for a second. Underscore sum.
No worries.
Sum.
Window sum profit divided by window sum sales.
I'm ready if you're waiting on me.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure everybody's good. So we're going to drag that to the color now, which is going to replace the other one. And then since it's a table calculation, we want to compute using subcategories. And since this is a table calculation on a table calculation, that you will not be able to like create the distinct groups with each other. So that is why that doesn't work. Now we're going to save this for now. So it's a bit of a quandary on how you get that to work, right? We're going to save this because I don't want to get into LOD calculations right now because I think I already probably went in deeper than I wanted to in table right now. So we're going to save this.
Are we going to label it something?
Yep.
Okay.
We're going to say LOD help.
LOD.
This is going to be something that we'll save for later on how to figure out how to get the aggregations right for each of these groups. And we are hitting the 8 o'clock mark. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. So back at 8:10, because you get that extra minute because I'm generous with my time. And we're going to, when we get back, it's going to be simpler than this table calculations, and we're going to get back into designing some fun charts. I will see you then. And almost everyone's back. We're going to be creating a new sheet. And we're going to call this one Barbell plot.
I'm sorry, I think you said barbell. Is that correct?
That is correct. All right. Does anybody know how to create a barbell plot?
Looking forward to it.
All right. So we're going to look at profit, and we're going to look at subcategory because we really like that, or we're used to it, I should say. So we're going to drag subcategory on rows. And then we're going to take just profit. We're going to keep it simple. Wherever profit is. There it is. And we are going to drag it on columns. So what do we have currently? What is this?
Bar chart?
Yes, it's the bar chart. That's not a barbell plot. So we have more work to do. It wasn't going to be that easy. It's more than 2 clicks. Not much more. So we already talked about quad charts, but this time we're going to also talk about dual axis charts. So dual axis is required for a barbell plot. So all you're doing with dual axis, and we've done this before, where you just command control and drag another pill over. So you got 2 bar charts. Still, this is not a barbell plot. So we have to keep going. One thing that you'll notice, and I think some have noticed this before, is that when you add variables up here to the top, so like if I go back to sum of sales dots, you'll see that there's a ridiculous number of marks menus here.
Mm-hmm.
So each of these correlate with each of the green pills on your chart. So since we have 2 here, you see that we have a second marks menu here. So what this does, this is a bit of an aside, just because it's important. If I take sales and I put it on color, you don't have to do this. You can see that it only impacts this one chart because this corresponds with this. And if I did that here, you would see it would do it for the other one. So you can actually do some pretty nifty things once you get comfortable with that. You can also do that with all, which would have it affect both at the same time. Okay, so we have 2 charts here. So what we're going to do is we're right-clicking on the second one. And we'll have this option down here for dual axis. Now it gives us dots. One of the things whenever you do a dual axis, you almost always want to synchronize it, especially if you're using the same variable. So we're going to right-click on the top axis, and you'll see that has dual axis. We're going to click on synchronize. So that will just make sure that these 2 are lined up perfectly.
When I right-clicked on it, I just got sort ascending, sort descending. Or do I have?
Sorry, what was the question?
When I right-clicked on that top header or whatever, or was it right there? Okay. I thought you did it in the header.
Oh, no.
I did dual access, but then when you were synchronize, where did you synchronize at?
It's the same one. It's not. Oh, I'm sorry. It's axis that you synchronize. So that tells you that's dual axis, and then you go to the axis to make sure that this axis is synchronized with this one.
Right. So to
So
highlight that access, okay, I don't know why I didn't get the edit drop down. All right, synchronize accesses. Okay, got it. Sorry.
That's right. So this is basically have two charts right on top of each other. So that's why you have two axes there. And you just can't tell because the dots are perfectly on top of each other. We're going to change that. So when you have dual axis, this bottom menu, the one that's furthest down, that's the chart that is on top. And the one that is sandwiched in here is the chart that's behind the one that's like is the background chart. So just remember that if you're working with this in the future. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this background chart to line. Actually, before we do that, we're going to take region. So we're going to go back and just have circles here. We're going to go to region. Now you could do that in order, but I just kind of want to show something before we do that. So we're going to go to the top chart, which is the bottom one, and we're going to take region. And we're going to go to all. So this is going to affect both charts. We're going to go to region, and then we're going to put it on color. We should have 4 dots for each one.
Ooh, mine are lines though, or if I.
Oh, just make sure you change it back to circles. That was my bad.
Oh, oh, you changed that back to circles.
Or automatic. Yep.
Okay. All right, got it.
Okay, so now we have 4 groups of each one, right? For each region, and then it's based on the subcategory. So what we're going to do now is, and the reason why I wanted to kind of go back here before I went to line, is this is going to, I guess, surprise you maybe. So I'm going to go to line. So from automatic, so this is the background chart. So this is the middle one. So this is going to affect the background. We're going to go back and put it on lines. So now we get this mess. You might be wondering, why did I just make this? Well, we're not done yet. So be patient. Take region, drag it on path. What happened?
Barbells.
Yep. And that's how you get a barbell. And then you can just lighten this up. So this is the background chart. You can lighten that so it looks a little bit nicer. And what you're actually looking at is you're comparing that spread. And so this gives you different information than you would otherwise get from just a bar chart. So you can clean this up even more by getting rid of the grid lines. And so that's the 5th icon, and in this case, columns. And you can right-click on the top axis and just click on Show Header, because this is a duplicate, so you don't really need to see it. We can keep the 0 line.
Tableau just crashed.
It crashed?
Yeah, like it just closed automatically. I'm just hoping it saved, but I'm betting it.
It should save. There was a time I've worked with Tableau long enough where it didn't automatically save.
So it said it has quit and encountered an unexpected error. We apologize to keep improve. I don't want to show or send an error, right? Just don't send and
yeah, you don't need to send it,
right?
Right.
Okay.
And it should have it should
cover. Open my recovered file at 817, right?
Yep, that's correct.
I don't know what happened? Okay, so it didn't save. The region needs to go on to, or no, I got to go to some profit and put region on path. The middle one,
Correct.
right?
With the
Because
line.
mine did
Yep.
there. Okay.
So the path option is
No.
available when you have the line. It won't be available if it's on circle. Mara's making me sleepy.
I think I have it, but my labels are different, and I have the top, the header, the profit. You know, it's 10,000, 5,000. So it
Yeah,
must
you
be
just right click on that and then click on show header on the top axis.
Yeah, show headers on there. I want to unclick it. Yeah. Okay. What about the bot? Yes, but mine's still 10,000,
No, fine.
5,000. How come yours is 12,000?
This is just automatic, so I didn't change anything down
Okay.
here.
Okay. I think I'm caught back up.
Okay. And one last thing that we can do is we can sort based on sum of profit. So this isn't going to be as clean if you had two groups, but generally it's better to sort.
How'd you do that? You sort subcategory?
Yeah, it was.
Sort, right click on subcategory, go to sort, and then go to field, descending, profit. And so.
Descending profit. So, okay.
So yeah, thanks for asking. Sometimes like I think in Tableau and I forget that I'm not verbalizing what I'm doing.
It's looking pretty sharp.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm still confused though why yours is 12,000 to 10K to 8K and mine is, or excuse me, yours is 12K, 10K.
That's
Maybe yours
automatic.
zoomed in more. Where do I make sure it's automatic? That's edit the access.
Yep, and then you go to tick marks.
Tick marks, and mine's automatic.
You can go
0 to
fixed and
10,000.
go. You can go fixed and then go 2,000, and that would force it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's put our analyst hats on. What kind of insights do you get from this?
You see a particular color, the west, to the right more often. Maybe not more often than not, but on the most profitable side of things, more often than not.
Right.
Central seems
the
to be
south.
isn't doing too hot.
And the south.
Except for on.
South's not in the top half very often.
South seems to be pretty average. Central, not too good. And east and west are doing the best.
So what does the length of the line tell you?
Gap between first and last.
Do they vary a lot?
Yes. It's like supplies is fairly equal distance, but copiers south is trailing big time.
Envelopes and fasteners are about identical.
For bookcases, the south is crushing it.
The
It seems like
East
all
is
of them have,
doing pretty good on machines.
looks like all of them have fasteners nailed.
Central really
See-
needs to get their furnishings together and their appliances.
You know, what's neat about this view too is you can easily see tables. 3 of them are unprofitable while 1 region's profitable. And you only need to be able to see that
Probably where they're shipped from, maybe.
potentially. So that leads to a whole different level of insights that we looked at from the scatter or the quad chart. Because remember, we were looking at tables, but there is one region that is profitable.
I really like the information to ink ratio too.
Sorry, what was that?
I really like the information to ink ratio.
Yes. Yeah, the data to ink ratio. Yep. And it's really like we've been looking at circles for most of our charts. And so this just adds a line to it. Yeah, but this is one of the most efficient ways to visualize a lot of information intuitively. And the nice thing is, too, once you have this set up, it's really easy to switch it to something else. So let's say I want to look at, well, actually, let me do this. We're going to create a parameter. Remember what those are?
How do you do that again?
You go in the parameters section, you right click, go to create a parameter. And that allows us to create a parameter.
I have a hard time under parameters. Maybe if I know, getting it to right click. Like when I go just to the right of parameters.
Try to find an open space. If there's not enough open space, then just try and lift that line up a little bit to give you more space to right click in the open area.
Okay. Yep, I gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, create a parameter and calling it.
Dimension selection.
Did you name it dimension select?
I did. That is one of my traditional naming conventions for this type of thing. So if you actually download some of my
Dimension.
workbooks, you'll see that all over the place.
Yours looks different. Oh, list. There we go.
Yep.
Allowable values is list.
View automatic list. Mine. Your current value is 1.
That's not. We don't have any. You don't have to worry about that right now. I think you can change it. So you are stuck with the 1 for now.
Yeah, mine's at 5 and won't let me go to 1.
Yeah.
But it's not like blurred out or
Oh,
shadowed out. Like it gives me an option. When I tried to change it, it changed it to 10.
interesting.
Yes.
Well, let's see if it. Let's go through this next part and see if that fixes it.
Okay.
So we're going to go value 1, value 2. So the way you think about that is we're just creating basically an option 1 and option 2. And so the first one is going to be subcategory.
It's not letting me change those.
Sorry, not subcategory, region. You want to share your screen so I can see?
Should I just exit out of all of that? Oh, I fixed it. I got it.
Oh, okay. You got it. Okay, so the first option is going to be region, and then the second one is going to be quarters. Okay, everybody here? Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So then we're going to create a calculated field. So we're going to right click it, dimension selection. And so it's purple, so we know it's a parameter. And so I'm just going to call it dimension calculation. Okay. So if I wanted to create a calculated field that brought in region or date quarters, how would you approach this?
Date quarters.
So we first need logic based on the selection, right? So if I
Order
show
date?
parameter, this is what the user sees, regions, quarters. So if we're going to change that selection, what do we need to add in the calculated field? If dimension selection, and we use the value, not the display as. If dimension selection equals 1, then region, else if dimension selection equals 2, then just start typing quarter and you'll get the quarter function. And then we're going to get order date. And so what order date does is it'll just return the quarter instead of the full date string. I have an error. It's because quarter is a number and region is not. So I'm going to wrap this with str, which is going to make this a string. Add a plus sign. Now space. GTR. And I'll zoom in.
Ooh, my calculation contains errors. So
Make sure you wrap the quarter with string.
STR quarter. Order date. I gotta get order date.
Everybody good?
No, I still got an error. Maybe it's because I can't tell a parenthesis from a
What's the error say? Click
bracket.
on the error.
No, it's because I had a curly bracket and not a. Then the region has to have brackets.
You should be able just to start typing region, and it should pop up. And you can just click it.
But that's what it says is underlined is region. Do I have to capitalize the R? No.
You should just be able to start
Yeah.
typing, and then it'll show up, and then you just click it.
Yeah. I had a small R, so okay, I'm ready.
Okay, click OK. And so we're going to replace region with dimension calculation. And you're going to switch your parameter. So if you don't have it shown,
that region is still on the first one. I did it on the wrong one.
Oh,
so
yeah. So you replace it. You just replace dimension calculation, You put dimension calculation on color, it should replace region. And so you want to make sure your parameter is showing. So you right click on dimension selection and have show parameter. And then you also want to replace your line, and by putting this on detail, dimension calculation on detail, put it on path, and that'll replace region there. So it should look exactly the same, but the difference is when you now change it, you should see an update. So dimension calculation on color for the top chart, for the background chart should be dimension calculation on path. Okay.
And can you go to the sum of profit, the first one, the middle one, or whatever you call it? And I need
Background
dimension
chart.
calculation on that
On path. And then you want nothing else there.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, yeah.
And then you want to show your parameter if you haven't done that yet. And then it will give you this selection here, which is what we originally created.
And switch it to
And
quarter.
you should get a new view.
Yep.
So once you get that logic down, you can just start adding more dimensions in here. And you can quickly, so instead of having to create a bunch of new worksheets, you can look at all your main dimensions of groups of 4 or less because of Miller's law. Remember our laws of UX. You know, we want to keep our groups to manageable levels. But you can very easily just be able to show a lot of information with just, you know, a little bit of added extra time in the calculated fields and the parameters. Instead of, because one of the important things is it's one thing to make things in Tableau, it's another thing to maintain them. And this design pattern is a lot easier to maintain than having one of those workbooks that has 200 dashboards or worksheets, where you're creating a chart every single time when you really just need like a bar chart, dimension selection, barbell plot, dimension selection, or a metric selection. Okay, everybody good with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to create a new parameter. We're going to call this one metric selection, which is another one of my verbiage that I am passing on to you all. And we're going to do the same thing, integer. I'm going to have 1 and 2. And the display is going to be profit and sales. Everybody got this? Should be very familiar. Okay, so now we're going to create we're going to create a very similar calculated field. We just right click on metric selection to bring in the parameter, and we're going to call it metric calculation. If metric selection equals 1, then becomes profit relative to sales. should have something that looks like this. Good.
Oh, just I drug the wrong thing. I dropped it at the wrong. F equals 2. Okay. Oh, yep, it's valid.
Okay. So we're going to click OK. Now instead of sum of profit up at the top, we are going to bring in sum of metric calculation. So we need to rebuild our dual axis. So you right click the top one, go to the top axis and synchronize. Re-hit show header. And then we get back our circles and put dimension calculation on color. And we should be good there. That wasn't too bad, was it?
Where did I go with the path one? No.
Path one should just be dimension selection on path, like before.
Right, I have dimension calculation, but path doesn't line up for me. Why?
Did you synchronize your axes?
Oh, probably not. So, and this
Right click on the
Go ahead, tell me again.
right click on the top axis, and there should be a synchronize axis option.
And that's just on the header, right? So that
Yep.
top, okay.
And then you can hide the header by clicking show header.
Right, I get reset cards. I don't, when I want to make sure I got the right two on top. Metric calculations, 2 metric calculations.
Can I share mine? I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Amara, did you get to where I am?
Yep.
All right, good.
I want to see if Mike and I are at the same point. I just can't get to that synchronized ACA.
What do we got going on here?
So
Okay, go to your right click into your metric selection calculation.
Yeah, because it should be sum, not.
Oh, you have metric. It's metric calculation, not metric selection. You
Okay.
have the parameter.
Okay.
Yeah, so the reason I use metric selection is it just reminds me that that's a parameter because someone has to select it and the calculation is. So that's actually creating the kind of the logic.
Makes tons of sense. Okay, so I think that kind of took care of it, huh?
Well, now
Yep,
we
and
gotta
then
synchronize.
make sure you synchronize your axes.
So
Okay, that's good. You can click show header to remove the top one.
see, when I click on that top axis, I get sending, sorting, sending, and formatting. So I'm not clicking it the right.
So are you clicking on this? That's not it.
Yeah, and that's not it. But I'm supposed to synchronize by clicking on the top axis, right?
Yep, top axis. Right click.
Right click, and all I get, it's not left click either. It's right.
Are they the
Right?
same variable? The top columns one? Is it both metric calculation?
I can stop sharing if that helps.
No, I'm just trying to get. I can't share, but every time I click on that, I get the sort ascending, sort descending, and format.
Are you right clicking it?
Yeah, the right side of my touchpad.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, is there another? I mean, it's highlighting, and then I can go on the. Do I have to show something or? Yeah, so
So you just
I
right click it. You right
Met-
click this top section, and then it's right there.
but like
Synchronize
mine
axis.
doesn't show the numbers across the top. So what if I missed? Mine doesn't say metric calculations across the top.
Okay, so
it's
you
on
go up here, and you can just click show header if it's not showing the header.
on the second green pill.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's your top.
That's that was my bottom one. So show header. Let's get the other one. Show header. They're both showing the header, but I only see the metric calculation at the bottom. So they're synchronized. They're
So what's the green pill? What's this first green pill say?
metric calculation, sum of metric calculation.
What's the second one say?
Same thing.
Okay, and you're saying that the axes don't say metric calculation for both of them?
No, because they're side by side, so they're sitting side by side instead of one on top of each other.
Oh, did you do the dual axis?
That's probably what I missed, so that's where I got to do it. Right, and I do dual axis just on one of them. There you go.
The right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Now, if I go there and where I edit the axis, synchronize the axis, right? There we go.
Yep.
All right, and then hide the header on that top one.
Yep.
Got it. And now I should have the path should be on the bottom one. I still don't
The
have
middle
the
one.
path.
You have to change it to line.
Oh, instead of circle in the middle one.
Right. Yeah, you won't have the line. You won't have a path if it's.
Yeah. Okay, and then do the dimension calculation on the path. Whew, that took forever, but I got there. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, it's all right.
Fine.
That's what we're here for. We're learning, and it's just going to get easier the more repetition that we have. So now when we click on metric selection, we now have sales.
Okay, my metric selection, I want to make sure how I got dimension selection. I have to show the metric selection over there, right? How do I get that over to the right?
Go to parameters in the bottom left and just right click and go show parameter.
Okay, there we go. Show parameter. Yep, got it.
So one last thing that we can do is we can right click on subcategory and go to sort, and we can change the descending field from profit to metric calculation. So now, when we change the metrics, it will stay sorted. So it may seem like a small thing, but like when you start adding in different metrics and dimensions, you can think about how many different views you're getting without having to change or add any new worksheets. It's a huge time saver, especially when you're trying to maintain them. So if we wanted to like add another one, I can go to dimension selection and add a third option. And we'll call this one segment. And then we'll add a fourth one, call it ship mode. So once we got this base logic down, it's super easy just to keep adding to it. So then we just need to go to dimension calculation. Go else if dimension selection equals 3. And
I gotta
segment.
get that dimension calculation though. Help me there. It's under,
Should be at the top.
oh, it's up top. Dimension. You knew it was at the top because it was alphabetical, is that right?
Yes, alphabetical.
Okay. Quarter.
Would the last one be else if, or would it just be else?
You can have either, but I would just, it's safer to just have else if, because if you are getting back other options, then you probably want that to be a null and not. That's just a good practice. In this case, it wouldn't matter because you're using a parameter that won't give you other options, but generally it's just good to have the conditions. Everybody good with this?
Almost. Just a second.
Yep.
Ship mode. And okay. And why did that what's that word there? Dependency. Why did that pop up? So that wasn't there before, was it? Next to the apply?
Oh, yeah. So that that just means that making changes to this is going to impact one of our views, which is what we want.
Okay.
So it's just saying that in case, like, if we're changing stuff on a view, that it sometimes we may not know that it's what it's impacting. So one chart could be used in a lot of dashboards. It's just an indication. Though. Good catch, though. So we're gonna click OK.
Yep.
Then when we switch to segment, we should now get the segment and ship mode. We should get ship mode, which is a wide variance for phones. Everybody get there?
I don't have the colors for the regions. Is there a way to zoom in on your 2 marks? Or maybe I could share mine.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
Okay, so you just need the dimension calculation on color.
Okay.
It's already there on your.
Just
Just
drag it
change
on.
it to color.
Yep, left click, drag to color.
There
Yep.
you go.
And if you want to change the lines in the background, you can go to that middle marks menu, click color, and then go with a lighter gray.
Oh,
Or you
okay.
can. And so you got it. Good like mine.
Cool. I thought it was further away than that. Sweet. Okay, so that does change it. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Looks great. All right. Any questions? Was that good? Was that a fun activity?
Mm-hmm.
That is good.
Yeah, I definitely learned really how to put something together. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I use that all the time. So that's stuff that that's just something I pretty much use for a lot of my different work. So not not teaching you stuff that's just for
Just for
class.
fun.
Yeah.
I want to see your whole T-shirt there, David. Hacking open data.
Yeah. Participants by region. So then it has all the people that participated.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to stop the recording here.